Go for it.
Oh yeah, 3 pre-rolls this week, starting with Factor, America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit. Can help you fuel up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. Head to factormeals.com/JRVP50. Use the code JRVP50 to get 50% off. That's code JRVP50 at factormeals.com/JRVP50 to get 50% off. Thank you to our sponsor, Stitch Fix. Try Stitch Fix today at stitchfix.com/JRVP. You'll get 25% off if you keep everything in your fix. Stitch Fix is here to make finding the perfect outfit easy. Use their online platform and expert stylists. You'll have access to a custom wardrobe. That's stitchfix.com/JRVP for 25% off today. stitchfix.com/JRVP. This show is sponsored by BetterHelp. Let therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/JRVP today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JRVP. 3 pre-rolls, back live in the studio. It's just the start. We've got plane seat switching etiquette. We got whale killing cruises. And we got Tony Jeselnik's tanning salon all coming up in episode 212 of the Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project. JRVP.
Junior Vice President.
Threads, Day 3 impressions. Community is lively. Many offering food or comfort. Seems like Threads is a healing foundation. Less people trying to steal thunder, and more trying to lend a helping hand or words of wisdom. It's like a slice of utopia built on this false hope highway of disinformation and bias based on projecting past trauma on those currently thriving and shining, i.e. the internet. Fuck, I might actually be having fun today. I'm gonna edit my doc, swim, then come back here and pal around.
Yeah, the Threads era started while I was in Japan. We hadn't had a chance to talk about it, but I want to know who dropped those words of wisdom.
Aaron, do you know?
I don't.
I have a good guess.
Guess.
Is it the same author as Spooky Mental Haunted House?
Close. This is same vein, very similar tone, but it's not.
Okay.
What a good guess.
It's not a WC. It's a DC. That's all I'm going to say. It's a DC.
I mean, that's not enough for me.
That is so helpful.
Chappelle?
That's close, because that DC would work with that, but no. I don't think Dave Chappelle is
Dana
on.
Carvey?
Dana
Is on Threads. No, we're close.
Dane Cook.
Dane Cook.
Wow.
Dane Cook on Threads. This was widely mocked. This is the only thread that I've actually seen, because people send it around as like, what the fuck are you doing? But I thought it was really funny. I've quoted this many times. I've seen people on the internet who have like dramatically read it. And it's just fantastic. I love that he exists and that he does not understand how things work. It's great.
Well, he also is writing in a similar vein to how I saw a lot of people writing on Threads. Day 2 or 3, I signed up for Threads.
You did?
I was in Japan because I've been locked out of my Twitter account, and so I'm just like, and it's very easy, which is why I think a lot of people did. You just like press a button on your Instagram, and then suddenly you have a Threads account. But there was a lot of that because I was checking it out the first few days the most. So a lot of people were like, oh, everything's so much different here. It's great. I finally feel free to like, frolic on the internet. Like, love you guys. And all it was just a bunch of people saying that, or just like, what are you guys doing today? And then everyone got bored of that after 2 or 3 days and nothing's happening.
Oh, from what I heard, it was like people jumped on and were like, oh my God, this is so much better than Twitter. And then the next day they were like, we're not going back there. Like, and the thing is, if you signed up for it, and I haven't tried this yet, but if you sign up for it through your Instagram, it's like in your Instagram, if you want to get rid of Threads, you have to like delete your Instagram. Not your account, but you have to like start over, like delete the app and start over from scratch. There's not an easy way to get rid of it. I think they launched too early. Anyone who jumped on in the beginning is probably regretting it.
I mean, it's fine. It's just like the exact same thing as Twitter, except like a few less features and less people. It might get there eventually,
I don't need a new social media thing. I wish they would all go away. Except my Instagram. Go to my Instagram. I'm on the road now. I got tour photos I got all kinds of Twitter. I got all kinds of information on there. And I started my Instagram account 6 months ago or some shit, so I have nobody following me. But I have a bunch of pictures from this weekend.
Saw them. They were good.
Did Vegas and Morongo Casino in Cabazon. It was funny because like Vegas was insane. Vegas was insane. It was like 3,000 people, maybe more. I mean, look, when you see the pictures, I'm like, holy fuck, how many people were there?
Huge.
It's huge. It's like this huge venue, a great venue. I've been there before. I love it. And it was a really fun show. And you have like all the security. Everything is like 5-star. They treat you so well. They had like they had dinner reservations for us like both nights we were there, and like a private booth, so we're like not getting bothered. Security's walking us everywhere. It was awesome.
You've got your own private photographer getting like good-looking shots of you the whole time.
Yeah, it's great. I had it all. And I was like, this was an amazing show. It was a great... I think of this as more as a kickoff to the tour. Even though this tour really starts in September. Those Mississippi shows, whatever. Atlantic City was fun. West Virginia was fun. But this was more like, okay, this is what the tour will be like. And the next day, we've got to get up. We kind of go out that night a little bit and go, like, get in the car at noon and drive 5 hours from Vegas to the Morongo. And it is like...
Wow.
I mean...
I feel like it should not be that long.
I mean, it's traffic. It's a little bit of traffic, and it's a lot of just that's the drive. And we get there, and it's just like everything's burning. It's 110, 115 degrees outside. There's fires everywhere. So it just smells like smoke. You get out of the car, and you're like, oh my God, I got to get inside right now. And as we're walking in, I see just three old women smoking a cigarette, like three smoking cigarettes in a circle at the smoking lounge, just looking at the ground. And I'm like, what are they looking at? And I walk down, and there's a dead bird laying on the ground with these women just smoke cigarettes. Even though there's so much smoke in the air, you want to die. They're out there smoking cigarettes. And I was like, this is the most fucked up place I've ever been. And I walk in, and it's like, instead of this giant theater, this amazing theater like in Vegas, it's this little hotel, like ballroom thing that they've converted into seats. I look like I'm giving like a real estate like talk. I do the sound check. Everything's going wrong with the sound check. That, like, I guess a bunch of people who normally work there had to stay home because they're trying to protect their home from the fire. It's like it's like a skeleton crew. I'm like, this is such a letdown. And then the show was amazing. Like when I walked on stage, the crowd was going so crazy. I was like, this is like nothing I've experienced on the entire tour at the Morongo Casino. Vegas was like loud, but this was like insane, and one of the best shows I've had on this entire tour. It was awesome. Wow. So we walked off and we're like, fuck, like, okay, don't judge a book by its cover. But those are both great. I leave this weekend to make up a comedy club. I'm doing Fort Wayne, Indiana. And this has been sold out forever. It was sold out, and they had to resell tickets when I had to cancel in January. But I hope the people of Fort Wayne, Indiana, anyone coming to the show understands what a deal you were getting. I was supposed to do this in January to practice and work on new stuff and get things together so that when I get into the real money, it's the show is good. This is a makeup. So I'm not trying out shit. I'm not trying out fucking shit. I'm coming in there with a finished hour, and I'm just going to strut for 6 shows for way less money than I deserve. It's a gift to the people of Fort Wayne. It's a gift. If you have your tickets, kiss your tickets. Kiss them. Hold them against your mouth and rub it around a little bit.
Do they have an option to pay more, potentially?
No.
Since they're getting extra value? They could just Venmo you.
They can't do it. That's why this country is bullshit. Because once you buy the ticket, you can't offer more money for the ticket. But it's going to be a great weekend. I'm excited. The last comedy club I will do for quite some time. But that will be it. That'll be a good time. And then the weekend after, I go to Montreal. I got a couple shows in a few theaters on my way to Montreal, and then I get a couple weeks off. But things are great. If everything goes the way this weekend did, I will be very, very happy. I had a great time. Now I want to go see Mission Impossible. Well, I'm here. I got to leave Wednesday. I didn't get to see Mission Impossible last week. Aaron, have you seen Mission Impossible?
I have not yet, no.
Are you going to?
I'm going to for sure.
Harlan's still sick?
No, Harlan was okay. And I was like, maybe we'll go this Tuesday. And he was like, yeah, sure. And then I haven't heard anything. So maybe he doesn't even know we're supposed to go. And maybe I want to do something else, and I'll see it later. But I do want to see it in IMAX. Everyone's going to see Mission Impossible. Everyone, at some point. But to see it in IMAX seems special. And I'm excited. I've drank the Barbenheimer Kool-Aid. Oppenheimer looks awesome. I was reading about the book it's based on, like a Pulitzer Prize winning biography that took like 30 years to write. I can't wait to read that, but I'm going to wait until I see the movie. But that got me excited for it. What I've read about the movie, the early reviews, I haven't seen spoilers, but looks incredible. And the idea of seeing Barbie and then Oppenheimer back to back is hilarious to me. A lot of people have been making this joke. You guys see a double feature. Tom Cruise came up with this joke, shockingly enough, to go see the double feature. I want to do it so bad, and I'm like, Liz was like, okay. Liz wants to see Barbie, doesn't give a shit about Oppenheimer. I'm kind of the opposite, but the double feature gets me hard.
20,000 people have bought tickets to both.
I totally believe it.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun. And what do you see first? I think it's funnier to see Oppenheimer first and then Barbie.
Yeah.
But Liz refuses. Liz is like, can we see Barbie first? And I was like, okay. And then she was like, can we please walk around a little bit in between or get something to eat? How far do you think you can push me? You think 2 years of dating is going to let you talk to me like that? We're seeing them back to back. If I could see them at the same time, I would do that.
Well, they can't. It'd be tough to time it. Maybe you get like some popcorn, and then the trailers are starting for the other. There might be a little bit of a break.
Maybe, but we're not taking it. There's no bathroom breaks in Barbenheimer. You don't get to do that.
I mean, I don't know if you remember, but we talked about this very topic last week on the show. Not exactly. You're going into more depth, this week. And I was like, I'll go. And you're like, great, we're going to do that when you get back. And you've forgotten completely about it. In this scenario, you are Harlan Williams, and I'm Anthony Jeselnik.
Aaron, is that true?
Oh, I don't recall.
Exactly. Exactly. You're welcome to come to Barbenheimer. I'm trying to get Liz to go do the way you're supposed to do Barbenheimer. You get there 20 minutes early for Barbie. You get your large popcorn. You get your big gulp of Sprite. Maybe some Raisinets. And then you get in the theater, you sit down, and you do not get up until Barbie is over. You got to watch the credits. You get up, you throw out your stuff. You don't leave it there for the attendants. You don't leave it there for the people who work in the theater. You take it out yourself.
Yeah.
Then you go straight to the other theater. Straight to it. No bathroom. No more snacks for you. You sit down and you watch Oppenheimer in its entirety. And then, only then do you leave. And then, when you leave, you got to spend half an hour talking about Barbie. You got to go right from Oppenheimer to then discussing Barbie, and then you can go back to Oppenheimer.
Can't you talk Barbie while you're waiting for Oppenheimer to start? Whoa.
Nope. Wow. You don't say shit, because you've got to go to the bathroom so bad you can't talk. Yeah. That's how it goes.
Yeah.
So I'll get 3 tickets.
20 minutes before Barbie plus trailers is probably an hour.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'm all in. I'm more into Barbie than Oppenheimer because I love Greta Gerwig so much. But it's close. I'm pretty in on both.
I'm so in on Oppenheimer. I think Barbie's going to make more money. I think it's probably
what?
Yes, I think Barbie's going to make more money than any movie this summer.
What? I don't think so.
I know it is. The marketing's been insane. Everyone's going to go see it. I don't think it's going to be as good. I think that in the Barbie world, what they're showing you clips of is going to be cool. And then when she goes to the real world, the fact that they're not showing any of that, I think it might be kind of like, wait, what the fuck?
I don't even know what you're talking about. See, I try to stay away from it. I don't like finding out. You read the reviews.
If you know they're making a Barbie movie, you know for a goddamn fact that she's starting out in the Barbie world and then coming into the real world and being like, this isn't like Barbie. And you know what? She's going to learn a little something. And the people of the real world are going to learn a little something. And we're going to meet in the middle. Barbie's going to be a little more like us. We're going to be a little more like Barbie, guys. It's not that fucking hard. Yeah. It's not, Aaron, how hard is it?
Not that.
Not that.
No. Yeah, but it's in how she does it. It's like if you just read the plot of most Greta Gerwig movies, it probably wouldn't sound that exciting.
She's Barbie. She can do anything. Where's the drama? If she can do everything.
We'll find out. It's more of like a character study.
Oppenheimer does one thing, but he does it really well. I'm excited for Oppenheimer. Give me Oppenheimer. Now, talking about spoilers. I haven't talked about this for the last couple of weeks because I wanted everyone to be able to catch up. I've spoiled things in the past. People have complained. I don't always feel bad. Sometimes I do. This time, I wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page when we discussed the season 1 finale of The Weekend Show. Did you ever watch Weekend Show?
No.
You never watched a single episode?
No. The most I did was listen to Bill Simmons and some guy talk about it. Wesley Morris. I shouldn't say some guy. He's great. For about 25 minutes, which is a long time to just like seriously discuss that show. That was after the finale, and they spoiled the shit out of it. But
I mean, I didn't want to do that because this twist is incredible. Okay? Aaron, did you watch?
I have not watched Weekend
Have you read anything? Have you seen my blog about it?
No.
Okay. So Weekend Show, it's all going and, you know, it's like, oh, he's being abusive. He's hurting her to get the art out of her. Oh my God. Oh my God. Is basically the first four episodes summed up. Fifth episode. You're not going to fucking believe what happens. Tables turn, guys. Tables turn. Now Weekend is like, Weekend's been drinking too much. He's been doing too much coke. He's kind of fucked up. Now Britney Spears has the power. And Britney Spears is like, get the fuck out of here. We don't need you. We're going to put on a show with the random people who we've barely talked to for the first 4 episodes. They're going to open for me. And veteran industry professionals are going to come and sit here. And they're going to watch this karaoke going on. And they're not going to be able to fucking believe their eyes. They're not going to be able to trust their ears. Because what their ears is saying is, this is God singing to you right now. They're so happy about this little show they've put on. That's 90% of the episode. And then they get rid of the Weekend. They're like, Weekend, you got to get out of here. Weekend, you got to go. Weekend loses. And then at the very end of the episode, inexplicably, they've gotten rid of Weekend. They're doing their show.
Weekend.
They got the openers.
Weekend.
They got the openers. It's a weekday now. They got the openers. They're in SoFi Stadium. And they're getting ready for the show. They're doing sound check. Everyone's happy. Weekend shows up outside the stadium at like noon for an 8 o'clock show and says, do you have any artist passes for me? I'm Weekend. And they're like, yeah, Weekend, we do, which is insane. It's insane that they would leave passes for him and that he would think maybe they left passes for me. The fact that he's right, he should have had a heart attack and died right there. He doesn't. He comes in. He talks to Britney Spears. She's like, hey, we're cool. Doesn't make any sense.
Is it literally Britney Spears?
Her character is named Britney Spears, but it's not. It's Johnny Depp's daughter.
Oh, wow.
It's little Johnny Depp, little Jill Depp, little girl Depp, and then, but she's called Britney Spears.
Lil Depp would be a better name.
Lil Depp. But everyone's like, hey, Britney Spears throughout the show. Britney Spears and Weekend.
Okay.
And then Britney Spears goes on stage. The crowd's going nuts. And then she brings out Weekend and says, the love of my life, kisses him and says, now go stand over there, which stuns him. And he goes and stands over there. And then she goes to sing. And that's the end of season 1. Obviously, they're playing the long game with Weekend Show.
What a cliffhanger.
And there's going to be multiple seasons. Not 1, not 2, not 3, multiple seasons of this show. Guaranteed. Guaranteed. I can't wait for season 2, whenever the strike is over. But the twist of the show, the thing you never see coming, is that the twist is the music business is unfair. And when that washes over you as the end credits roll and the 100th Weekend song that's played during the series comes down, you are... I knew. I watched it live, and I knew this was the season finale, but I was hitting my Apple TV remote looking for season 2. I was like, it's got to be there. They can't do this to me.
I've got chills just from your description.
Aaron, I tell you, 3 weeks ago, if you had asked me if the music business was fair, I would have said yeah.
You have to assume it.
I would have said, of course it is.
Just look at Britney Spears.
Just look at Britney Spears, Christina Aguilera.
Lil Baby.
Look at them. Look at them. This is why you got to have the YouTube, so you can look at them, and you would think it's fair. And then you watch the show like that, and you're like, nope. Nope, not all the time. It was incredible. It was incredible.
And yet you're so convinced, even with this writer's strike and this confusing ending, which, the other review I listened to was thoroughly confused. Did not understand what the point was of the finale. Unlike you.
The point is, the music business is not 100% on the up and up. I don't know how that can miss you, but I think it's the emotions. It's Weeknd's such a good actor that you really like, what am I watching? Is this a home movie? Is there a script involved? What is going on? But start polishing your Emmy now, Weeknd, because it's coming. At least one.
He's called the show a 5-hour film, which sort of indicates maybe there won't be a second season. I feel like it could be.
The people demand it. That's what the strike is about right now. They were like, why only 5 episodes? You could have gotten 6, could have gotten 12. This could have been a 25-episode show for sure. No one would have ever gotten bored or confused. It would have made the twist at the end that much stronger. But I get it. Weeknd's busy. I assume making other shows where he's also the same character. And Britney Spears has got a lot going on right now. So who knows when season 2 comes and when the strike is over, when they finally decide, yes, Weeknd shows have to be at least 6 episodes long, then the town can sleep at night and rest and feel comfortable knowing that the music business is once again fair. So, I hope I didn't spoil it. You guys have had plenty of opportunity. I know some of you have not had a chance to watch it twice yet. I'm sorry, but I couldn't wait any longer. I gave you a couple weeks. I waited till Gregg was back in the country so he could handle the shock. You're in Japan, you hear something like that. I don't know what's going to happen. Maybe you can't get on the plane.
Maybe you walk in front of a bullet train.
You don't walk. It's a hop.
Well, yeah, there's like a barrier too, so you got to jump over that.
They've got strict instructions on how to jump in front of bullet trains in Japan. And now it's time for. Do you have anything else from Japan before we move on?
No, nothing important. I think I underrated how much I would be affected by returning from Japan just yesterday afternoon and then doing this podcast today. It felt very unsafe driving here. Mm-hmm. Like I was going to either fall asleep or just be 5 seconds slow hitting my brakes and then crash.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I told you we could have done it later, but you said no. You said we're going.
And then we got here and you said, I'm just lucky you're here.
Yeah. I've had a long day already. I've been doing a lot, and then I had to come right in here. So
no, it was sad leaving. Especially because I did notice, because I checked the YouTube of our last show looking for something. Mm-hmm. One of the top comments was I look much better when I'm remote. Like somehow they said the camera and the lighting here always makes me look bad, and that I looked handsome. I looked better there. So that's also disappointing that I'm now returning to this lighting.
Yeah. Sorry, man. Sorry.
I also miss my family,
Do you?
I got a couple weeks here.
Do you? No, that's not. You don't point for that one.
Yeah.
And now it's time for. Did we get any notes?
Did we get any notes? Notes. Did we get any notes? Notes. Did we get any notes?
Yeah, I got a couple things. Nothing too big. The Nate Bargatze story from a couple weeks ago. Give you guys a little look behind the curtain. The story I told was not true. Someone had just written in being like, hey, Nate Bargatze told a funny story about you and him in an elevator with LeBron James. What's your side of it? And I was like, that never happened. I would remember if I was in an elevator with LeBron James ever in my life, especially if Nate Bargatze was there and something funny happened. And so I made up a story and was like, this is what Nate gets for misremembering, thinking I was there. And then right after when that thing kind of blew up, our social media team put it on there. And then I keep seeing a lot of people tagging Nate, whatever. And then Nate texted me. I sent you the text, Gregg, on Tuesday or a day later being like, I'm just at Disneyland with my family getting texts about me, you, and LeBron. And he thought it was funny. I thought it was funny. And I just wrote back yeah, I heard there was a story about us, but that never happened. So I just made it up. And then I was reading something. Someone got mad online. They were like, what is this story? And maybe it was on the TikTok. They were like, what is this I keep seeing? This story's disgusting. I'm not even going to link to it, but what is that? Yeah,
you said LeBron did some crazy things in that.
Yeah, and it's Nate fans being like, I like Nate because he's pure. And someone was, the first response was, knowing Anthony and Nate, knowing their comedy, Anthony's 100% making up the story to fuck with Nate's squeaky clean persona. And everyone's like, oh, okay, I get it. But then someone's like, what is the actual story? And oh, Nate and Anthony were in an elevator with LeBron. And when LeBron got out of the elevator, Nate goes, good luck. And Anthony just looked at Nate like, what? Like, good luck. You think LeBron needs your well wishes in this elevator? And LeBron didn't say anything. And I says that, and I'm like, oh yeah, now I remember that. Like, I don't know how I went from that's impossible, I would remember being in an elevator with LeBron, to, oh yeah, I was in an elevator with LeBron. And obviously didn't say anything. But yeah, I do remember now Nate saying good luck as he went out, and everyone just being like, why would you say good luck?
I mean, as someone who's known you for a long time, you aggressively saying that something didn't happen or that you have no recollection of it or that's not true. And then, thanks, Aaron. And then someone like giving you details about it and you going like, oh yeah, actually you're right. Mm-hmm. That's not surprising at all. How do you not know yourself better that would be possible?
You know what I definitely don't remember? Is asking your opinion about this. No, it's the LeBron of it all that made me think, of course I would remember LeBron. And then when I heard this, I was like, oh, now it's kind of a vague, it's a fog. But yeah, I remember it now. Sorry to Nate and his family.
What about LeBron? You should be sorry to him. He was so embarrassed by this story catching fire. He changed his number back to 23.
LeBron and I talked about it a little bit, and he was like, just keep it between us. We're cool. We don't have to make this a podcast thing. And I was like, okay. My other notes thing is it's been fun since I mentioned there's a comedian that I despise. Everything about them. People would keep trying to guess who it was. And last week I went through a bunch of guesses that were wrong. And I will do more today because people were like, oh, he said these people are out. It's got to be these people. So let me go through. And I'm never talking about this again after this episode. Comedians I'm not talking about. Shane Gillis. I like Shane Gillis. When Shane Gillis had his thing with SNL, I definitely blasted him for using a racial slur. I think you can do a character. You can do all kinds of things. But when you say the slur, it's like, it's a bad look. And it was the first comedy I'd seen from him, and I trashed it, and I stand by my trashing of it. But since then, I think he's been phenomenal. I think he's handled that situation perfectly. I think he's very, very funny. I like him. I've met him since and talked to him. Shane Gillis and I are cool. I like Shane Gillis. It is not Eliza Schlesinger. I don't think about Eliza Schlesinger at all. She plays a different sport. I don't think about it. Trevor Wallace, whoever guessed Trevor Wallace, made me laugh for 5 minutes. The idea that it would be Trevor Wallace. Chris D'Elia, no. Chris D'Elia's out of the game. He might still be touring. He might have a podcast. He's Dunsville. Sebastian, I love Sebastian. I really like Sebastian as a person, as a performer. I see him all the time. Stavros, someone guessed. I like Stavros. I've never met Stavros. But everything I've seen, like Liz photographed him at the Improv last week and loved his act. He delights me. He's good. Aaron, you know Stavros, right? Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, I've never met him.
I met him last week.
Yeah, he seems just like a happy guy. Like his act sounds cool. Like I'm drinking the Stavros Kool-Aid. It's not Rogan. I definitely can. I feel free to insult Joe at my leisure. He's like the biggest name in the world that I have no problem doing that, but I like Joe as a person. Sam Morril. I love Sam Morril. I think Sam Morril is one of the best of these young guys coming up. If I was ever going to like take my crown off and get up off my throne and leave my kingdom, I think I'd hand it off to Sam Morril. I love his stuff. I love his philosophy. I love everything he does. Joe List. Love Joe List. Joe List is one of my favorites of all these guys. Mark Norman is great. Kevin Hart, no. Kevin Hart, I like. I don't pay attention to anything that he does, but I don't hate Kevin Hart. So none of those people. And again, if you want to guess online anymore, go ahead. I'm not going to answer any more of these. But it's none of those people. And that was, did we get any notes?
Did we get any notes? Notes. Did we get any notes?
Why are you rocking a baby?
Notes. Did we get any notes?
Because the baby's got to go to sleep. Got to rock the baby if you want to go to sleep. And now it's time to go somewhere where babies never sleep. Babies are either seeing Barbie or they're seeing Oppenheimer, but that's it. Those are the two options. It's Email Corner.
Email Corner. Emails are a thing. Email Corner. Email. It's Email Corner.
Guys, emails. Aaron, what are they?
They're a thing.
They're a fucking thing. And we don't want to take that for granted. So every single episode of this podcast, every time you tune in, you go to the YouTube, you go to the app, and you listen or you watch the podcast, you're going to get not one, not two, but 3 emails. Maybe more, maybe less.
Unless it's like an email-only show, and then you're going to be fucking drowning in them.
I said maybe more. I said maybe less. I've given us the wiggle room. I don't want to lock us into something we can't keep going. Maybe more, maybe less, but always 3.
Unless it's less.
Unless it's less or it's more, but it's always going to be 3. That's the exception that proves the rule. So let's read them up.
Yeah.
JRVP Junior Vice President, send them. We read them. We pick 3. Again, if we don't answer your email, feel free to submit it again. Sometimes we have an embarrassment of riches. We're on a tight schedule. I got Barbenheimer to plan after this.
First one's from Joel. He's in Cleveland. This is a question for Aaron.
Fuck yeah.
Did Aaron ever listen to JRVP before he started working on it? Has he gone back to listen to the episodes since he started? R.I.P. Camera Stew. And then we learned why Aaron tripped on his dick just a few minutes ago. Cue the dumpster whale, Aaron.
Oh well.
You can see the video there on YouTube. Which Aaron, I'm assuming you're seeing that for the first time. I don't think you were even aware of this sound drop. But I could be wrong. I could be wrong.
I mean, this is the very definition of like a Rosenthal special, is bringing in some sort of clip, wanting it to play, having a clip that's too long, the format's wrong, and then just giving it to Aaron, and Aaron doing his best. That's what happened.
How is that a Rosenthal special? I sent him the thing. He can cut it up to it however he wants.
You sent a random
That's
clip
all we got.
it.
That's the only way we can find it. Mm-hmm. It's nowhere.
The old clip was really short, and it was more fun. That's not as fun. And it's not camera stew. It's camera guy stew. Show a little respect for the dead. Aaron, did you ever... so, like, I remember we talked on the phone, like, right before our first episode.
Yeah.
That was a fun conversation. And then we came in here, like, were you aware of me as a comedian from before?
Yes, yeah.
And I don't think you'd ever produced a podcast I was a guest on, correct?
No.
So, and were you aware of our podcast at all?
Yeah, yeah.
Because in the past, and we've done 200, we did 150 episodes before we ever came in here before to work with Aaron. And I'm sure we've mentioned Scrubs in one of those 150 episodes. And so, Ed, that must have triggered your Google alert?
No.
And so you were like, okay, these guys are coming to All Things Comedy. Let me check it out.
No, I've previously listened to snippets of the episodes because I used to have to put ad markers in the back catalog.
Okay, so you never listened for pleasure.
No, I'd never listened.
It was always for pain.
I guess you could say that. Yeah.
It was. I mean, you were just like looking for. Basically, you just went to 20 minutes into the show or something and looked for a pause. That's not really...
Yeah, I listened for Erica doing the ad copy thing, and then...
Were you worried about working with us, or were you excited? Like, did you listen to it beforehand, being like, okay, it's going to be a silly, fun pod, or were you like, oh, like they're going to make me do push-ups? What were the concerns?
I was excited, yeah.
You were excited?
I mean, even after... that introductory call where Anthony was very businesslike.
Mm-hmm. As always.
Yeah.
As always. Yeah. So have you gone back? Like once you started working with us, were you like, okay, let me go back and listen to older episodes?
Nah.
No. What if I told you, Aaron?
I have a small child.
That episode 1 through like 146 was mostly Scrubs related.
I'm not that obsessed with Scrubs, guys.
It was because in the beginning it was more of like a what if the cast of Scrubs played for the St. Louis Cardinals kind of like fantasy thing. You would have loved it, buddy.
I would tune in for that. That's for sure.
You would have fucking loved it. Any other questions? Nope. I think we answered them all. Thanks, Joel. Hope to see you in Cleveland, buddy. I'm coming. 2 shows now.
Mike Kennedy asks. It really tells a story, and it's about 2 of his sisters. 2 of my sisters, Christy and Trish, used to work at a tanning salon in the South Hills. It's near Pittsburgh. That big Tony Jeselnik would frequent in the early 2000s. Mm-hmm. It's your father, not you.
Yes.
Just to make it clear. He would come in on a Sunday or Monday sometimes and thank my sisters for having your sister Courtney stay the weekend at my family's and how nice they were for that. Meanwhile, your sister never once stayed there, I guess, and would just tell your dad that. Anyways, they said your dad is one of the nicest guys ever, so I think it's effing hilarious when you put him in jokes, making him sound like an absolute scumbag. Love the podcast. You guys are all hilarious. It's not just Anthony. It's me and Aaron, too. Yeah.
It's just me. I love this story because it showcases something that I learned later on in life. Like my dad would go to there was a couple of like tanning salons in the neighborhood. My dad for his psoriasis, he would go. The UV rays helped his skin feel better, so he would go a couple times a week. And knew the girls. Like if there was like a very tan blonde girl in the South Hills, like my dad was on a first name basis with her. It was crazy. He knew them all, and he was such a nice guy that he knew their names, knew their families. Everything was sweet. I think my sister may have worked at that salon for like a little bit, so knew the other girls. And I would totally believe my dad would be like, "Oh my God, Christy and Trish. Oh, those girls are so sweet. You know, yeah, hang out with them as much as you want. They're sweethearts." So Courtney was like, okay. So it became the excuse of like, yeah, I'm going there. And I was gone at this point. I was in college. So I don't remember this exactly. But I do think it's funny that my other sisters and I have talked about this as we've gotten older. That when we were younger, we would lie to our parents all the time. And we felt like we were always getting away with it. And not until like maybe 10, 15 years ago did I realize that my dad never believed a fucking word that came out of any of our mouths. He never believed anything. If I told him right now that I'd never graduated college or high school, he would be like, okay, I figured. Like he didn't believe, and you'd be like, I'm going to a movie. He'd be like, did not believe you were going to see a movie. Hoped for the best, but did not believe it. Like he was never ever fooled. That I think he was just like, it's easier to just go, okay, Courtney, go see you Monday, than it was to investigate any of this. So I know they may have seen like my dad had the wool pulled over his eyes. I think he just wanted to talk to Christy and Trish, and say something. That was his way in. But yeah, my dad was not fooled. No one believed anything that came out of anyone's mouth in my family.
But isn't there a line there that he has to be like somewhat worried about what they're actually up to, and maybe would check in on that, or you just gotta accept it. Well, Courtney was also the youngest, so yeah. By then he had really. You had broken him down.
It was three of them there were three girls, and I was no bowl of cherries. My brother was great. He was easy to raise. The rest of them were all nuts. That having three of them, I think he just took a step back and said, you know, I'm gonna pray for you all, but I don't believe a goddamn word. So that made me laugh. Thank you, Mike, for the memory.
I love everything about the story. Because he always was very tan. I mean, if you want to know one thing about Tony Jeselnik, it's how tanned he was. But then, you know, I think I tried to make a joke about it or made fun of him to you or something like that. And then I learned it was for the psoriasis. But how much do you think it was like, I mean, the psoriasis, I'm sure it helped, but there had to be a little personal vanity in getting to meet all these young blonde women too. That was like part of the equation of always going tanning.
Yeah, I think there's some vanity to going to a tanning bed, talking to young teenage girls who are always not judgmental at all, stripping down naked and having flakes of psoriasis fall all over the floor that these girls will have to clean up as soon as you leave, and then getting into a tanning bed for 10 minutes and emerging in slightly less pain than you entered it. I'm sure he really ate that up, Gregg.
Wait, you get naked?
In a tanning bed?
Yeah.
No, I'm joking. You keep your jeans on. You take off one of your socks. You keep your jeans on, and then you keep your hands up like on your face. You can hold your eyes open the whole time. That's how tanning beds work. You never got in a tanning bed?
I've never been in one.
I did it once before we went to Miami for New Year's Eve 2000 because I was so pale that I was like, I'm going to be embarrassed in Miami. And I went to a tanning bed for 10 minutes and burned myself so badly that I was embarrassed for different reasons in Miami.
Was it 2000 or 2001?
It was the night of 2000. Like at midnight, it was 2000.
I never know that. Now I guess I'm going to have to trust you, but I don't really trust your memory based on what we just said. I never know where I was when it turned 2000. It was either Miami.
It was Miami.
Or with my brother.
Because 2000 was a big
Paris.
deal. So we were like, let's go to, our friend invited us to Miami, let's go to Miami.
Okay. Let's finish this one with a fan of Bill Burr here. Don't have his name, but he asks how to explain how this shit works with Bill cold as ice Burr. Like, aren't you renting space I guess he means at All Things Comedy, with your dollars, or is he your boss? I would imagine this to be unlikely. If you're renting space, then does it matter whether you are taping or not? Are you renting by the show or renting by the month? I guess if he knows you aren't taping, he could fill the gap with someone else willing to pay. I think he's really referring to all the talk that you've had about Bill in the past as our boss and, wanting us to be on time and all that. P.S. I love Bill Burr and his comedy.
Listen, Bill's great. Okay, Bill's fantastic. Is he our boss? Do we actually pay him for the space? Both. When you want to do a podcast with All Things Comedy, $500 deposit per person on the show. Like, guests are free, but if it's a 2-person podcast, $1,000. 1-person podcast, $500. 3-person podcast, Aaron,
$1,500.
$1,500. Up to 5. What's the biggest podcast they have of regular people here at All Things Comedy?
In terms of number of people,
Like
Yes.
hosts, yeah.
4.
Okay, that's $2,000. That's $2,000 to Bill right out of the gate in his pocket, and he calls it a deposit, but no one gets that back. It's more of like a introductory, like get in the door kind of thing. You got to buy me a bottle of champagne before you want to talk about the lap dance, if you will. And then once you pay the $500, you get in. Then you schedule your time that you want to be here, and it's $75 per episode of the podcast for the space, to use the space. And how many studios do they have here at the All Things Comedy lot? It's 7 different studios, Aaron?
Something like that.
Yeah, something like that. 7 or 8, maybe. And so you put down $75 an episode for that one. Again, that's going right in Bill's pocket. Then Bill gives the notes. And if sometimes he'll be like, I don't know about that bit, guys. Geez, that bit, I did something similar on my podcast, Monday Morning Podcast, a while ago. And then that's him saying, like, maybe wet my beak a little more, and I'll let this podcast air. So that's another $75, just to be like, let these notes slide. And he's cool about it. And then at the end, he kind of, how like landlords were trying to get tipped for a while?
Sure.
Bill's doing that, where it's like, okay, you got my 75, you got my 500. Now, how about a little something for Billy, is what it says. And then it's like percentages. And then you can hit that or not. And he says it's up to you, but it's not really up to you.
Right.
So I would say every episode we're spending a couple $100, but we're bringing in through ads a couple $100. So with the volume, we're actually kind of coming out ahead. But Bill's a good boss.
I mean, the problem is he's here all day. He's here during his office hours. But he knows if you try to come in before his office hours even start, because he wants that beak to be wet. Like, you can't beat him to the building. It's like that whole thing with Tom Brady, first guy in the building. It's like, well, how about one day I just showed up at 4:30? Nope, doesn't matter. Somehow Brady's there. Bill Burr is always there.
Bill's always here. I would believe he lives here. Look, it has a couch that folds out into a bed and sleeps on it sometimes. It's fine. It's fine.
That's how you got to end it.
Yeah, I had a whole other thing I was going to go into and I forgot it. I blanked. And that was Email Corner. Shine on, you crazy diamond.
And that was Email Corner. Diamonds around the world unite. Diamonds around the world unite.
And now it's time for that.
Ad copy.
That's right. We're in the thick of summer. You might be looking for some wholesome, convenient meals to support skinny, active days. You know who's there for you? Factor. America's #1 ready-to-eat meal kit can help you fuel up fast with flavorful and nutritious ready-to-eat meals delivered straight to your door. I loved it when we had our Factor meals. They sent it to us so we could have a good idea of what it's like. My meals were all set for the week. I need it right now, actually. Emika's not coming back for another 3 weeks. I need to try to feed myself. Factor's fresh. They're never frozen. You can just put it in the microwave. They're ready in just 2 minutes. All you got to do is heat, and you enjoy it, and then you go back outside and go tanning, because that's what I like to do.
Don't chunk up the summer. You worked hard for the summer to get that beach body. You don't want to lose it before September. So come September, you eat whatever you want. This summer, you Factor meal. 3 meals a day. That's what I recommend as a podcast host, co-host.
You can treat yourself. There's 34 plus weekly restaurant quality options like bruschetta shrimp risotto. It's great. Steakhouse filet mignon, the Greed Goddess chicken, and it saves you time. If you need an extra boost to support your wellness goals, they also have protein plus meals with 30 grams of protein or more for every serving, and it's really for any type of diet. You can do keto, you can do calorie smart, keto. I don't know.
I like the smoothies. I like it all. It's good.
Smoothies are excellent. They can deliver to your door 100% of their delivery emissions, source 100% renewable electricity for their production sites and offices. So you're making a sustainable choice. You can feel good about it. Head to factormeals.com/JRVP and use the code JRVP50 to get 50% off. That's, again, I got to correct myself. It's factormeals.com/JRVP50. That's code JRVP50 at factormeals.com/JRVP50 to get 50% off.
It's a deal. If Liz went out of town for 3 weeks like you were dealing with, I would factor it right the fuck up. And she'd come back and she'd be like, oh my God, you're so much healthier than when I left. And I'll be like, what? Why can't you make meals like Factor makes meals? And then you leave, and then you have the audacity to question my decisions. When I'm just trying to survive, you're going to come in here and be like, what? You need me on that wall.
I like Factor so much I recommended it to my mom. That's as good a recommendation as you can get. I would also recommend Stitch Fix to my mom, because with Stitch Fix you'll have access to real stylists who will work with you to create a wardrobe tailored just for you. Basically, if you don't want to pick out your own clothes, you can have the Stitch Fix stylist do it for you.
Yeah. You send in a naked picture and say, fill this in.
That's not how it works.
You say, fill this in. Here's what I'm working with. Cover it up.
To be clear, that is not how it works. You go on Stitch Fix, you fill out the survey. All you do is answer a few questions about where you get your clothes. Kind of, you see a couple different things, what your price range is. You give them your size, and they'll find clothes that have the perfect fit for you. They'll send it to you. It's very easy to pick what you want, keep whatever you want out of the Stitch Fix that they send to you, and the ones that you don't like, you just put them in a bag that they already include with you, and you send them back. I remember with mine, they sent 5 different items. I didn't want the shoes. They were too big for me, and then they learned what I like in shoes, and then they sent back some shoes that worked out, but you just send them back in the mail.
I think it's a great thing to give as a present to a friend.
Yeah.
You got a friend who doesn't have great style sense, the way that I do or Aaron does. Let's say we want to get Gregg some Stitch Fix, Aaron.
Yep.
What's the process? What do you do?
You go to stitchfix.com.
/JRVP.
And then you submit a naked picture of Gregg.
Yep.
And say, fill this in.
Well, we got to hold him down to take the photo.
You say, cover this up. Yeah. You don't have to hold Gregg down. Gregg's into it.
Oh, okay.
Gregg's like, hey, take some more just for us. And then you send that in and say, cover it up.
Well, the problem is I have too many options. I do appreciate, though, the policy used to be whoever it was, just send in a naked picture of Gregg.
Mm-hmm. It's true.
And I was like, that doesn't make any sense. And they're like, you don't understand. It's like a secret passcode to get in.
Yeah. They're like, you don't understand. Someone here really likes that. But 5% off with a naked picture of Gregg. But they're going to ask for, you don't have to get the naked picture to start this process. But at some point, they're going to come to you and say, we're going to need that picture. If you want some clothes, we're gonna need that picture. If you want it covered up, we need to see it. We need to know what we're covering up.
And if you think like, oh, that can't be real, how can there be that much hair? It's real, and it's covering me up. It's keeping me warm in the winter. Stitch Fix has you covered 1,000 different brands and styles you know and love. And if you're kind of like a really small size like myself, or you're big size, they go up to triple XL. Everything is going to be the perfect fit for you if you have a hard time finding clothes that you like. Any different type of style. So you can make it as fancy, as expensive as you want, or you can make it as dressed down, as affordable as you want. Try Stitch Fix today.
I don't care what it costs. You got to cover it up.
Try Stitch Fix today at stitchfix.com/JRVP. You get 25% off when you keep everything in your fix. That's stitchfix.com/JRVP for for 25% off today. StitchFix.com/JRVP. Do it fast before they pull this sponsorship.
They're not pulling from us.
This
They
show
know.
is also sponsored by BetterHelp, by the way. Whether you're dealing with decisions around your career, your relationships, or anything else, therapy helps you stay connected to what you really want while navigating your life. So you can move forward with trust, confidence, and excitement. Therapy can help you make decisions that align with your values. It's like anything. The more you practice it, the easier you get. So if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online. It's designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. You just fill out a brief questionnaire. You get matched with a licensed therapist, and you can switch therapists at any time at no additional charge.
I'm telling you guys, give this as a gift. Use it for yourself. Have you ever, you ever on a bad date and you end up back at your place and you're like, I wish I hadn't brought this person back here? And they're like, so what do you want to do now? And you're like, oh, I just called you an Uber. It's waiting. Remember that? I used to do it all the time. If I was ever like, hey, I want to go to bed now, I wouldn't say, hey, I think I'm going to go to bed. I would say, I just called you an Uber. That way, like, yeah, you're leaving right now, but I'm paying for the ride. It was great. BetterHelp. Let's say you have a friend and they're trying to confide in you about something that you don't care about. If they're like, hey, I've been having a really hard time, I feel like the pandemic is still kind of rolling around in my brain. I lost my dog recently. You can be like, yeah. Here. And just give them BetterHelp. Be like, I'm your friend. I don't want to talk about this. Talk to a professional and just pass it over. And then everyone's happy.
Let
Right?
therapy be your map with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/JRVP today to get 10% off your
They
first
care
month.
about your friends, so you don't have to.
That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/JRVP.
Take a naked picture, send it into BetterHelp, and say, cover this up. And that was.
Ad copy.
Let's get to headlines.
Let's get the headlines. Let's get the headlines. Let's get the headlines.
Good ones this week.
I feel like I'm warming up. It's like on the drive over here, it was like 5 in the morning in Tokyo, but now it's 7 in the morning. I just had my cup of coffee.
You got to shake off that panise.
This first story will wake you up. It's about the Ambassador Cruise Lines, who had to apologize to over 1,000 of its passengers after one of its ships arrived at port in the Faroe Islands, just at the moment where dozens, that's right, dozens of whales were being slaughtered in front of their eyes.
Now, the clip is too long.
No, that was perfect there. That was perfect.
No, it used to just be like, who did do it? Boo. It used to be like that. Right, Aaron? It used to be like what?
That's what I've heard.
See, if you had gone back and listened to old episodes, or even just listened to the JRVP song on Spotify, which does kind of feature that clip as a clip, he would know. He would have done his job better if he had done that homework.
You listen to the JRVP clip on Spotify, right, Aaron? I mean, that's what you play when your daughter's crying to calm her down.
Yeah, it soothes.
I like this. I just saw the headline. I didn't see what happened. I assumed they were just in the middle of the ocean, and it was like, if you look to your right, you'll see all these fucking whales getting killed. But no, they were in the port. I was like, why are they apologizing? Was the crew supposed to know when they were going to do this, or this is just something that happened?
They were bringing their cruise line, the boat, into port, and at the time, it was just a slaughter fest. I mean, the thing that got me was they said 40 plus whales were being slaughtered at that time. So as they're coming in, everyone's like, oh, look at that. What's going on there? And then they just have to watch like whale murder. And I guess the people found it upsetting.
I've never been on a cruise, but from what I understand, it fucking sucks across the board. Across the board. So like seeing 40 whales getting slaughtered as you're rolling into port, it sounds like it would probably be a highlight of the trip. Were people just like throwing up, or were they were just mad they had to even understand that this is something that happens wherever they were?
Yeah, I think they just found it personally upsetting. watch it on
It's so
YouTube.
long.
It is funny.
It's funny.
And,
It's so long.
I don't
Up.
I don't think it would be funny.
Afterward, the tail end it goes on too long.
I don't think it would be funny. And I like how you blamed it on me. Give me a break.
You brought the clip in. You're like, use this.
But I sent it ahead
Aaron
of
doesn't
time.
know?
He's an editor.
Aaron doesn't know a fucking thing that's not Scrubs. If you were like, hey, there's a clip from Scrubs where a whale falls into a dumpster, he'd have been like, oh, boop, 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 it's on my phone. It would have been fine.
I said, here's
But
this thing. You can edit it down. You know, why are you blaming me? I tend to agree with you, though. This would be a great cruise. I would pay extra. Like, if you had a cruise where this was one of the features, extra whale slaughters. And I love whales, but it would just be compelling. There would probably be a lot of people who would pay extra for the whale slaughter cruise.
Why wouldn't you just say, hey, that was fake? They were just fucking around. They were just taking the whales' temperatures out there. Maybe it's a blood donation. Say that. Like, these people, anyone on a cruise is fucking dumb.
Yeah.
They don't know what they're looking at.
They'll believe anything.
You could say whatever. I would love if they were just like, we're so sorry about you having to watch these whales getting slaughtered. Why don't you come to the top deck tonight? And for tonight's movie, The Cove. Is that the one where they killed the dolphins?
Yeah.
Thank you, Aaron.
Do you know where the Faroe Islands are, by the way?
I've heard of them.
They're between Iceland and the Shetland Islands, kind of near Denmark and Ireland.
Okay,
They're up there.
All right. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And they were upset because the thing that really annoyed me is that this cruise line ambassador, released all these statements that, like, we're anti using whales like this, and we're very upset with the Faroe Islands government for doing this, and we're part of a sustainable thing. It's like, you're a fucking cruise line.
You're a fucking cruise line. You don't get to say anything about what goes on anywhere.
You treat your humans worse than they treat those whales. Give me a break. In the Faroese, and that is how it's spelled, so I'm going to assume it's how it's pronounced.
Faroese.
Maybe. ESC. They've eaten pilot whale meat and blubber since they first settled on those islands over a millennia ago. And they say, like, we're going to keep doing that. This is how our community survives. We kill it. And they're getting on us for sustainability. It's like, this is how we are sustainable.
I mean, if I was on the cruise ship, I would have been mad. But I would have been mad, like, give me some of that meat. I got to watch you guys slaughter all these whales. I don't get to eat any of it. I don't get to use any of that to light a lamp. That's not fair. That's just rubbing it in my face without actually rubbing it in my face, which is something I would like to do. Whales, they are just big mammals in the ocean. Am I right about that, Aaron?
That is accurate.
That's accurate as F.
Well, there is something weird, like people get more sensitive about certain animals than others. And I guess seeing it up close, it's always upsetting. We went to a restaurant in Japan Friday night, it was not that long ago, where you actually fish inside the restaurant for the fish that you take out, and then they cook it up for you. And there was something about that
You know
was
what they
like,
call those?
What?
Fake restaurants. It's not how it works at all.
But that's
You just got scammed.
no, they would never allow this in Japan. I mean, in the States, because people would be worried about like litigation and everything. Like, I hooked a waitress at one point when I like pulled up the fish really fast, and then the hook kind of fell down. Like, there was like a 3-year-old just like swinging this sharp hook around me. I was like, this is not safe. But I caught some fish. Emeka caught a flounder. She caught a couple fish, and then you tell them to cook it up. But doing that, I did kind of feel bad for these. I was just like, you guys are going to fucking eat it. You're too dumb. You're going to end up on this hook.
When JRVP, the Jeselnik and Rosenthal Vanity Project.
JRVP.
Junior Vice President.
That's my bad. I blew up the whisper. Does not compare flounders to whales.
Why not, though? They're
Whales
just
are
two
smart.
of God's creatures.
No. Fish are God's creatures. Whales are above God on the hierarchy scale. Whales are living gods who swim around in the ocean and represent humanity's lack of care for the world. Have you ever seen Star Trek 4?
Yeah.
Nobody's seen that.
Aaron, you have?
No. But I know
There are whales in
whales,
it.
yeah.
There are whales in it, guaranteed. And it's about that, I assume. I've never seen any of those movies. But I remember as a kid, the whales being like, they're in space, what's up with the whales? I may have tried to read what was going on, like I read a summary of the movie and didn't understand because I don't know any of the people.
Yeah.
But if you're going to try to tell me there weren't whales in Star Trek 4 and it didn't have something to do with this, then you know what? You know what? Maybe the podcast boom is over, Aaron.
I hope not.
I'll start a podcast with Bill Burr right now. The clip is too long.
Okay, it's too long at the beginning.
It's too long at the beginning.
We could
That's where
create
it
an
should end.
audio version maybe
That's where it
for the
should end.
future. Maybe in the future.
This should not be happening at all. Those the other beeps. But if you once you pay the $500 to get into all things comedy, and you ask Bill Burr to start a podcast with you, he has to do it. He has to do it. How many podcasts does Bill Burr have?
Upwards of 19.
19. Yeah. And not everyone takes advantage. I've never said, hey, Bill, let's start a podcast, because he would have to drop everything and do it.
Yeah.
You know, Gregg's never done it, you know. But it works for Paul Vierzy. So, what's the next headline?
All right, sometimes it's just best to read the headline, so here goes. My husband died, so I fell for his brother. Haters call him Uncle Daddy, but we're in love.
Okay, I love this. I saw this. I don't understand these New York Post things where it's, and we've got one more in here for sure, where it's like a person writing a personal essay.
It's like their way of doing a headline, because it's not written by them.
No.
It's just a news article.
Yeah.
But then it gets you to click. I was like, ooh, I'm in on that.
Yeah, and it makes it sound like, well, the New York Post just saw a TikTok of someone like, I do this, and they're like, oh, this person is letting the world know. But this is a great one. My husband died, so I fell for his brother. Haters call him Uncle Daddy, but we're in love. Now, are they married? Did she marry, her husband died, did she marry the brother, or she's just with the brother?
They've been together for 4 or 5 years and have 2 kids. So I think they're married.
Okay. This is what things, like how things used to go. If your brother died, you married his wife and took care of their kids. If you've ever seen Deadwood, that's what Seth Bullock does, like right away.
Yeah.
Seth Bullock's brother died. He marries the wife, tries to raise the kid. Some stuff happens, but he stays with the woman. He becomes a good husband. That's cool. That's honorable. And I know now today people are going to try to judge whatever. It's not like it's her brother. It's her husband's brother. The husband died. And let me tell you something. If my brother dies, I'll marry his wife immediately. Immediately, as is my duty. And you know what? She doesn't even like me. She almost didn't marry my brother because I'm the brother of the guy she was going to marry, but that's how it's going to go. We are old school Deadwood families. Also,
You guys gonna have kids? They went and had 2 extra kids. They now raised the 2 kids she already had with the brother, but then they had 2 kids of their own. I don't think they officially got married, for what it's worth.
You're not
but
listening
they have been
to me.
together. Yeah.
You're not listening to me. My brother's going to have the kid with his wife. My brother's going to die. I'm going to marry my brother's wife, raise the kid for a year, and then it's going to get run over by a horse. That's what happened in Deadwood. That's how I'm going to do it. You know why, Aaron?
Because that's how they did it in Deadwood.
Because that's how I'm old school.
Yeah.
I'm Al fucking Swearingen. I got 3 seasons and a movie. Never should have been canceled.
Yep.
Should have gotten a 4th season. At least. Iambic pentameter. And then you get into haters call him Uncle Daddy. Hey, Aaron.
Yeah.
What's the best nickname you've ever heard?
Uncle Daddy.
Uncle Daddy. Uncle Daddy is legit cool. No one, like Kid Rock right now is like, fuck, I messed up. I could have had Uncle Daddy, and I blew it. Uncle Daddy's dope. Listen, I would push my brother in front of a fucking bus to marry his wife and get the nickname Uncle Daddy. I love my brother. But I would stand next to a subway train, and when the subway comes by, I would just push his face into the train until it wore away enough of his face that he died. right? Aaron?
I mean, yeah. It's oddly specific. I just feel like that's...
I don't have it in me to push him in front of the train. He's not going to jump. He's got too much to live for with the wife. But if I just... if I just push his face up against the train as it's going by, like they did in one of the Blade movies, I assume, then I got my nickname. It's a good one.
Right. I mean, you've got a heart. You wouldn't push him in front of the train.
What would you do if you, like, it's a Twilight Zone thing, Greg, where you fall asleep and then you wake up and you're invisible to your family? You know, you're like, hey, I'd like some breakfast, and everyone's ignoring you. And then you're like, wait, what's going on? And then Dean walks in the room and everyone's like, hey, Uncle Daddy. Like, that's where you look up at the sky and scream, Twilight Zone.
I think I'd have to hand it to him, you know?
Yeah.
I'd just be like, didn't think that dirty dog had it in him. But
you're like Dean can't hear you either. And that's when you reach up and feel the side of your face. And it's been rubbed off by a subway train. And Twilight Zone.
I'm impressed by...
It's black and white Deadwood.
It's a good-looking family, by the way. You know, the brother's good-looking. She's pretty good-looking. Their kids look like all-American young kids. Everyone looks happy. I don't see what anyone's problem was. Their family, I guess, wasn't really into it at first. Even the brother wasn't into it. The brother was not as committed as you were to just, like, jump into this.
He's like, I'm just fucking.
He said, I don't trust this girl.
I'm just boning my brother's widow.
My brother's widow and him were pill addicts, and his brother died of pill overdose. So he wasn't really thrilled with the woman, but she ended up quitting. You know, and he was part of that journey. She quit the pills. She got clean, and she said she liked that his voice just sounded like the brother so much. It makes sense. It sounds creepy, but it actually makes sense to me that it's almost like you're honoring. They both said that they were grieving the brothers so hard, it just made them feel better. It was like they felt closer to the brother.
I get it. I'm sure that's what happened in Deadwood too. I wonder if they're ever making love and she screams out, "Your brother."
I mean, he has a name. Aaron. Yeah. Aaron actually was the name.
I guess the way I changed it for comedic effect isn't going to fly on this podcast. I guess we're fact checking. Aaron, play a song. Uncle Daddy's a great nickname.
Undeniable.
I hope my brother gets sick.
Someone's taken this idea. Like, we're going to see some posters around town. Uncle Daddy opening for Kid Rock the next year. It sounds like it should be happening.
Do you remember Uncle Cracker?
No. Wasn't it just Cracker? Or they switched it to Cracker?
No, I'm thinking of Joe C., the little guy who died. Remember the little guy who was like, he was his Flavor Flav? No. Little person? You don't remember Joe C.? I think I don't know who Uncle Cracker was. Uncle Cracker was somebody.
Uncle Cracker was a protege of Kid Rock.
You know how, like, Garth Brooks had Chris Gaines?
Yeah.
Kid Rock had Uncle Cracker. It was his, like, alternate persona that was, like, really into Democrats. Like, he's the Kid Rock who's just on the other side of the political spectrum. Uncle Cracker, same guy, little mustache, little goatee, music just as good.
I just Googled Uncle Daddy for some reason, just seeing what's out there. Mm-hmm. You won't fucking believe this. There was an Uncle Daddy's all-day breakfast burrito right here in Burbank.
Really?
Uncle Daddy's all-day burritos. It's permanently closed, but I'm going there anyways.
I'll tell you what this is right now. Good podcasting. What's our next story?
Our next story feels less like a headline, more of a conversation starter, I would say. It's about a woman who came under fire online after bragging that she refused to switch seats so that a mom could sit with her kids. The mom was in a middle seat, and the other woman, I think, was on the aisle, and she refused.
Yeah, I've been in a situation where someone's asked me to switch a seat before, and usually I do it. If I can do it and it's easy, I have definitely regretted it. I remember I had a girl very confident, like, can I sit there where I was and, like, switch seats with her? And then I realized, like, it was a seat. It was really weird where you were, like, facing another seat. So it was like someone just staring right at you the whole time. And I was like, yeah, if it's, I don't know what your problem is, but I switched and I was like, oh, I fucked up. I should have stayed in my seat. I've never had can my family sit here? I've had can I sit next to my husband? We're both in first class. It's fine. I don't care. I do get annoyed if I get on the plane and someone's already in my seat and they go, oh, can we switch? Get in your seat. When I come, you ask me then. Otherwise, it's annoying. But again, first class, it's not a big deal. If someone was like, hey, would you move? And I see this every once in a while. Would you leave first class and go sit in coach so I can sit next to my whatever? Get the fuck out of here. You should be kicked off the plane while it's in the air if you ask someone that. I don't care what the deal is. That's not cool. And if someone asks you to move from like a window or an aisle into a middle, not cool. If you can go middle to middle, hey, let's switch it up. So I'm okay with telling someone no. Even if it's a mom with her kids, it's kind of sucks. If it would work out, great, but I don't know why this didn't happen. I'm not going to have a shitty flight because of you. But do not brag about it. If you would just been like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to switch with you. But when you get on, you're like, yeah, I told this mom she can't sit with her kids. I'm not doing that shit. He deserves all the guff he gets.
Well, there's so many things you got wrong here. I mean, it's a woman that was doing it. And I would say that her video, though, was very respectful. And
the sex of the person who said no doesn't matter, but you should not get online and brag about it.
She wasn't bragging too much. The more I read, and the response to the story actually was pretty much in favor of this woman. Maybe it was because of how she framed it, but I can see how this would happen. Once you learn more, you realize there's no way she should have changed it. And I think she was sort of presenting it as like, what do you guys think about this? And more people agreed with her and said she did the right thing. The other woman was already in the seat. To me, that is a huge no-no. Like, she was already in the seat, and then she was like, oh, I thought we could switch because these are my kids. Do you mind? It's like, that's very presumptuous. The kids are 11 and 15. That matters.
That matters big.
At that point, they're basically out on their own.
They can fly the fucking plane if they want to. They don't need to be sitting next to you.
And then after she said, no, I still want my seat, the woman then moves, and it's only one row in front. She's one row in front. She's like within arm's length of these kids anyways, one row in front.
Is it the same seat? Is it the same middle aisle? Or?
It was aisle to middle, but it was just like one row and one seat in front, and that's it. Which is nothing. And she's unhappy with the decision, and then she proceeded to just complain about the woman to the person next to her for like 10 minutes very loudly so that the other woman would hear, which is a bitch move.
Total bitch move. I think the person next to them who's listening was like, shut the fuck up.
She did. She was like, the woman defended her, she said, and she really appreciated that because at that point she was feeling guilty, and they were like, no, I don't think someone needs to do that. They paid for it. And
if you ask for a favor, you're asking for a favor, switch seats, and they say no, you cannot get mad. You cannot get mad at that person or think they're being rude. You're the bad person. I think this woman with the mom and her kids, the kids are fine. I'm not going to blame the kids here. But the woman, when they land at the airport and they have to take that little tram from the airport into where baggage claim is, I think as the tram is pulling up, she should take her face and just shove it into the tram. And it's much slower. It's not going to have the same effect as the other train, but it's going to take part of her face off. And that's the only way in today's society you can actually feel good about yourself.
Partial face off.
Partial face off.
Not full.
Not a full. Slow face off.
Roll it.
Aaron's played the wrong song.
It works. You don't need to call him out.
Aaron played the wrong song.
It works.
Play the right song, Aaron.
You don't need to have it say last headline, but I guess we do.
Last headline.
Could have just let it slide. No one would have known.
People would have. It would have been letters and droves. You don't see the letters like I do.
I don't.
They're always like, "Hey, what's up with Aaron being off the mark? Hey, is everything okay with Aaron at home? It doesn't seem like he's involved as much and really in the zone like he usually is. What's going on with Aaron?" And I'm sick of it. I'll tell Bill. How many demerits have you gotten this month, Aaron, from Bill?
Not that many.
How many? Tell me the truth.
12.
12? And you know what happens if you get 14 this month?
detention.
Yeah. So it's only the 17th, buddy. I don't want to have to tell Billy, but I will. What's our last headline?
Do you remember that viral thing back in 2015, Anthony?
I remember all the viral things.
So it was like when the internet, it really did almost shut down. It was as popular a viral thing as I can remember, when people were debating whether there was a dress that was black and blue or whether it was gold and white. And like half the people saw it as black and blue, the other half saw it as gold and white. I could be wrong, but I think we might have fucking talked about this on the Rosenthal and Jeselnik Vanity project.
RJVP. That's right, Aaron. You do nothing there.
Yeah.
You don't do anything. Although if you had gone back and listened to RJVP, who knows? Maybe we had a fucking golden conversation about this dress back
Or a
in the
blue
day.
and black conversation. Am I right? Get the fuck
Hey!
out. Hope you're not driving in your car when you heard that, because you just died. Yeah, we talked about, we may have talked about it at some point. I don't know. I don't really care. I remember this thing being a blip for like a week or so. But there's a
follow-up.
There's a follow-up, and the follow-up is great. Everyone's been talking
setup.
about the follow-up. Everyone's like, there is a follow-up to the blue-black dress situation. I was like, oh, that's interesting. It is interesting.
Okay, so yeah, I think we found the right answer because the guy who did post that dress, and if you're watching on YouTube, you can see the dress, is now accused of killing his wife.
Trying to kill his wife.
Trying to kill his wife.
He did not kill her. I know it's attempted murder. So I guess when this started, he and his wife are talking. It was like his mother-in-law's dress.
Yeah.
And he and the wife were debating it, and then he posted it, so he's like the famous one or whatever. And then years later, how did he try to kill her?
Well, he allegedly committed an 11-year campaign of domestic violence acts and coercive control, which led to him trying to kill her last March by pinning her to the ground and compressing her neck, which I guess is choking her. He also allegedly tried to get into the vehicle she was in and hit her through an open window. There was a headlock where he dragged her out of a bar. I mean, he sounds like, the lowest of the low.
He sounds like a piece of shit. I'll say it. And you write emails telling me I'm wrong. He's a piece of shit. I got to think this is what happens when people get into arguments about the dress. You'd think we'd both look at the dress, and I'd be like, hey, it's blue and black. You'd be like, it's white and gold. And we'd argue a little bit, and then we would settle it and figure it out. These two never did. These two have been blue and black or white and gold for 5 years. And it's just going to keep escalating and escalating. This is why in a marriage you need to talk to someone. You need to have a therapist, a BetterHelp, if you will, that you can talk to and say blue, black, white, gold. There's a middle ground. You don't have to try to kill her all the time. You don't have to take her out of a bar in a headlock. You can just sit down and discuss, hey, maybe I see it this way, maybe you see it that way. But now the fact that this guy will be in jail for attempted murder and everyone's going to call him the dress guy is great. You think no one's going to try to make a joke about, let's see how you look black and blue? Hey, he says he's all bruised, but I just see white and gold. He's going to get that all the time. And that's why the wife, the woman who was abused, who thought the dress was a different color than he did, is our JRVP listener of the week.
The JRVP listener. The JRVP listener. The JRVP listener of the week.
She won. Congratulations.
Do you think...
I hope this guy, I hope your husband's got a brother who's nicer and sees things the way you do.
One thing I noticed reading about this, it's a sad story. Hopefully, he's gone for good. And one thing I noticed was that they went on to the Ellen DeGeneres show when all this happened. And for some reason, Ellen gave them $10,000. I'm not saying she was at fault, Ellen DeGeneres, but she might have contributed to everything that went on here.
I mean, I heard Ellen got a couple slaps in there herself while this was all happening. I think it's almost like when an athlete retires and they don't hear the roar of the stadium anymore, they start to kind of get bitter, and then their life falls apart later on. When you go through the glory of the dress, that's your 15 minutes. It's over for you. You're looking for something to lash out at. I'm glad this story's over. And I would love to hear the stories of people beating him up in prison. because he's getting it bad. Just for the dress. Just for that dress shit. They don't like domestic abusers in jail, and they don't like that dress shit. They want a dress that's one thing. It can have multiple colors in it, but everyone better think it's the same colors. Am I right about that, Aaron? Is that what jail's like?
Yeah, all they care about is colors.
And now it's time for
Choo-choo.
Recommendation Station.
I was gonna say, you know what they do like, in jail is this podcast, and you just gave them like free ideas of how they can mock this guy.
That's what they call. They don't call it JRVP in jail. They call it free ideas. You guys listen to Free Ideas? Jeselnik's great. What's your recommendation?
I am recommending a book. I feel like it's turned into a book recommendation every time lately. But it's been vacation. This was one of my favorite books I read on vacation. It's called Diary of a Film. It's by Niven Govinden, British writer. Came out a year or two ago. It's set in Italy during a film festival. And it's about this like master film director who's debuting this film. And it's about his two leads, these two men who are kind of starting this relationship together. And it's about making movies and about where you get ideas from. And he gets an idea for his next movie. And there's a question of whether he wants to steal or get this idea or not. And it's just like really well written on how art is made. I feel like whenever you have novelists write about movies, it's not believable. And this character that he makes of kind of this aging, great director, kind of at the peak of his powers, and the doubts that he has, and the brilliance of it is all really good. It's Diary of a Film by Niven Govinden.
Spell Govinden.
Govinden.
Sounds cool.
It was good.
My book this week, and again, this is books from now on. And you know what? I saw a note a couple weeks ago about my recommendation. I recommended a book called Monsters, about how do you deal with art from great artists who have done horrible things. And then I also recommended the Queens of the Stone Age new album. And someone was like, oh, is he stupid? He's talking about abusers and art and then talking about an abuser. Fuck all that. The book is not saying, hey, don't listen to art from abusers. It's like, if you are uncomfortable listening to Michael Jackson now, what does that mean? Does that mean you can't listen to like the newest, like the latest Michael Jackson before he died? Or does that mean like if you listen to Jackson 5, is that okay? What is it that makes it bad? Does that make sense? Like if he made art before he did a horrible thing, is that art okay? It's an interesting discussion of it. You missed the point. Queens of the Stone Age is awesome. That book is awesome. Everybody go fuck themselves. My recommendation this week is a newer book called Sing Her Down. Sing Her Down by Ivy Pochada, a great writer, Ivy Pochada. This book has been marketed as No Country for Old Men meets Killing Eve, which I don't really know what that means because I've never seen Killing Eve. But I love No Country for Old Men, and that's high praise, but it kind of earns it. It's about two women who are in jail at the beginning of the pandemic. And they hate each other. They're always like, it's like the one's trying to kill the other one. And they both get let out for COVID. It's like you're getting early release. You have to stay in a hotel nearby and we're letting you out of jail. And they both just leave. And then it's like their run-ins as they're like running from the law and basically trying to kill each other while they're getting away from the law. I would say it's more No Country for Old Men meets, what's the one where the two chicks drive off a cliff at the end?
Thelma and Louise.
Thelma and Louise. Aaron, you've been waiting to say that all day. I'm glad I could finally hit you with it. More of a Thelma and Louise, but it's good. I enjoy it. It's dark. It's edgy. Sing Her Down by Ivy Pochada. I love it. And it's like about prisoners and like what jail does to you and what it means. It's a great book. I really enjoyed it. Sing Her Down by Ivy Pochada. Aaron, do you have anything this week?
Yeah, the Wham documentary on Netflix.
Is it a one-part movie? I read a little bit about it.
It's 90 minutes, perfect length, all about their friendship and how they started, and you get to hear the demo of Careless Whisper, which is awesome. Like,
is it more about Wham or is it about the guy from Wham who's not George Michael?
It's both.
Okay. Yeah. I will check that out. I still haven't seen the Arnold one yet, but I would definitely watch the Wham one. I hear great things. I thought like George Michael's was like the straight one in the group. When I was a kid. And then it was like, okay, maybe I guess they're both gay. And then it was like, no, that guy was the straight one. I was shocked reading the article. I was gobsmacked. And that was Recommendation Station.
Choo-choo.
And that was Recommendation station. Whale, get in that dumpster. Faster.
Oh well.
Oh, well.
That was a good try, folks.
All right.
Whoa, Nelly Furtado. That's a spicy meatball.
That's a demerit, Aaron. That's a demerit.